My name is 95 Mill. I also go by Andrew Miller. Born and raised from Sacramento, California. And I love being where I'm from, though. And I honor being from Sacramento and being born and raised from here, especially in North Sacramento.
That's awesome, man.
Everyone's
North
always like,
Sac.
yeah, North Sac. Everyone's always like, oh, I'm from the South, which I love the South. I got a lot of friends in the South, the South, from the North, man,
Yeah.
So I will stand up for the North. Let's go.
I like it. So what was it like growing up there?
It was good. So I came home from the hospital and I lived in an apartment on Madison Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little crazy over there, right?
Yeah, it is.
Back then. And then our neighbor murdered his wife.
Yeah, it's that kind of area.
Yeah, literally the door next door.
Oh,
So luckily we weren't there. I think we were coming home and the whole thing was shut down for like homicide shit.
Okay.
So my dad said, "No, we're out of here."
Yeah.
So we didn't go too far. We were still in Madison area. We went over to a couple blocks down, kind of like behind Target. If you know where Target's at on Madison.
I do.
Lived over there in some duplexes for like probably 3 years with my older brother and my mom. We had a dog, a Rottweiler, and then we lived there for probably a couple of years, and then we moved to Antelope. Boom! I lived in Antelope, and my mom and dad had bought their first house. It was nice. It was a brand new house.
That's awesome.
Foundation was sick, right? And this was like in 2000 and probably 2001, 2002. And that's when, it was the time to buy a house.
For sure.
If I would have bought a house in 2002, whatever, right now I'd be good.
Mm-hmm.
I'd probably be driving something super, super nice.
You got a nice ass truck, man.
Thank you. But the G-Wagons or something fancy, right? Because that those houses with those loans, all that would have been paid off, $200,000 for a house back then. $250 for a house back then.
Yeah.
Now it's $700,000, dog.
Yeah, just to get into it like a starter home.
And it's busted down. You're like, shit, man.
Yeah. This area was not like that. That's new.
Yeah, but it was good. For a lot of years, it was very good. I had a very good childhood. Like, my dad was blue collar. Woke up in the morning and went to work. And I remember waking up with him, during the summertime, and he'd pay me $20 a day, to go work with him. And I think he just wanted to be a cool dad and take me to work. He was a real hard ass though too. He wasn't like the nicest, like, come on. He grew up really messed up, so he was real tough on me and shit. But I think in some time he had a good heart, where he was being a good dad, just trying to teach a lot, but he would take me to work with them.
So do you think that he raised you less tough than he was raised? Like, or do you think it spilled over from?
I think that my dad's childhood was so crazy that he just like, he doesn't really know how to be a dad that much. Like, so he was just kind of like my grandpa was like a major drug addict, like in and out of prison his whole life, super crazy, and used to beat my grandma, and my dad was so young, him and my grandpa had a conflict, so we didn't have a life like that for the most part. But, things change a long time,
Sure.
So for the most part, growing up, my dad, he worked hard every day, we had boats, we had Harleys, we had dirt bikes and jet skis and shit, knew how he had a good ass job.
So he was doing well. Yeah.
He was fucking working, man. Economy was booming. My mom had a good job. She was working for Pacific Bell. She was probably making $30 an hour. And that's a lot of money back then.
Oh, for sure.
That's a good job.
Pac Bell was a legit job.
Yeah, and my dad, they were real traditional about it, right? My dad goes to work, they share bank accounts, or they, come home and, give my mom the check. She does all money, the financials, stuff like that. They were real old school, then, over time, my mom was awesome too, but she was mean. My mom was the mean one, dude, and it's funny because how the story goes on, right? She was the mean one growing up. She's so awesome now. Okay. So anyways,
let's get that clear, Mom.
Yeah, my mom's gonna watch this. I want to make this clear because she knows we always talk about this. The times go on, and my parents, they were together for 16 years. But they ended up separating. They divorced when I was like maybe 9.
Oh,
9 or 10. It was real. It was a real tough time because at that time, I'm playing baseball, I'm playing football, like. My parents got all these stuff, and
you still have one foot in little kidness, and you see the teens coming, but you're more of a little kid. That's a tough age.
Yeah. So it was real crazy, And then my dad, he took a crazy turn in life. Like he really followed into my grandpa's footsteps a lot.
In what areas?
He had drug addiction. He got really, really, really addicted to drugs, and he ended up going to jail all the time. You know, my mom and him
Was it
divorced.
like opiates or related to an injury from the job? Or
So you know, it's crazy to see that. Yeah, it started out with like Norcos.
yeah,
Started out with like my back hurts. I hurt my back at work. I need Norcos.
yeah.
I need Norcos. You know, and then what happened was he started getting really, really addicted to Norcos, and he would drive home. I remember as a kid, he would be driving home in the work truck. And he'd be like passing out, and all of us kids are outside playing basketball, riding skateboards, like hanging out. I had a really cool neighborhood where I hung out when I was a kid. Yeah. All the kids were hanging out in front of my house and shit. You know, so the kids would be out there and he'd be driving home swerving and shit, like coming down the corners and stuff. And it got to a point to where he was breaking all the mirrors in his work truck because he was hitting so much shit. Oh, he wasn't crashing, but he was nodding off a lot.
Damn.
You know, and then
how old were you at that time?
I was like 8 or 9 years old. Like when I kind of
Did you recognize there was something wrong? Or
no, I didn't really, because I didn't think that. You know, my dad used to always talk a lot of shit about tweakers and drug addicts because where he came from.
Tweakers and drugs, yeah.
Yeah, he used to talk a lot of shit about them. Like, you know, he used to frown upon them so much. I remember, like, after a while, you know, I think my mom just got sick of that shit. She couldn't change him, you know, and then he got, they ended up divorcing, splitting up.
Did he stay on like the prescription route, or did he go to the streets?
He went hardcore. He went to the streets.
Yeah,
man. Yeah. He went hardcore. Started doing like hardcore dope. You know, then started getting like into some really hardcore shit. You selling the dope. Okay. You know what I mean? Yeah. Robbing the pharmacies for the dope. You know what I mean? Like just doing crazy.
Deep.
Yeah, he was at the bottom, dude. You know what I mean? Living at my grandma's and shit. You know, and my mom, she was just kind of like, she kind of said, fuck him, you know what I mean? And said, I'm going to go do my life. And so she was free. And at this point right now, I'm probably 10 and a half going in 11 years old. And I was like, my parents were divorcing. I was at school. So my life started taking a wild turn at this age because,
for sure,
you know, you're right on the cusp of teenagers, becoming a teenager, bro, you know, and you're trying to figure out life. And, you know, you ask for advice and who you going to ask, you know? I had an older brother, you know, I have an older brother. You know, my older brother was always there for me. I was fortunate enough to have someone that was like always helping me and always there, but he was wild too, but good wild. We had fun.
That's good. So he stepped up, kind of took the man role in the house. And...
yeah, for the most part. Yeah. You know, for what he could do. Right. He was only like 15, 16. So you can only offer so much at that. True. You know, he's a sophomore in high school, still trying to figure out how to graduate and stuff, you know? So my mom, you know, she was kind of just doing her thing in life. Boyfriend after boyfriend after boyfriend after boyfriend, you know? And it got to a point to where I was getting in so much trouble at school because like my mom was kind of doing her thing. My dad was nowhere to be found. It was just me and my brother and my little sister. And I would get in trouble, and my mom, one day she was kind of just like, you know, like, you're old enough to know what you're doing now. I'm not going to sit here and discipline you anymore. And I was like 12, dude.
Oh, shit. So just make the right decisions. Like
pretty much, yeah. You know?
Sure.
So when I'd go to school, man, I was just like, you know what I mean? Like, and it's this attitude I had because.
Did you feel angry about?
I felt mad all the time.
Yeah.
I was mad at life, dude. I hated life, but I loved it at the same time because I felt like, oh, I got nobody's going to ground me. Nobody's going to spank my ass. You know, nobody's going to yell at me. Nobody's going to do shit. I was discipline free, you know? So I was always just kind of like doing whatever I wanted. And I wasn't like staying out till 5 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, like sneaking out and shit. I never had to like sneak out. If I was gonna go, I'll just walk out the front door, you know? That's
a lot of freedom for 12, man.
It was wild, man. Yeah. So I just kind of had life at a different time and then, you know what I mean? My dad was still kind of all over the place. And sometimes, you know, he would reach out and we'd try to like make amends, or he would try to take me school shopping and shit or something, right? I'd only see him so often, maybe like once or twice a year for a long time.
Wow.
And it would be like, call your dad, we need school clothes. I gotta be talking to this guy in like a year, 9 months. You want to tell him to take me to school shopping? Like, it was the most awkwardest thing in the world. So at that point, it was like, I just figure it out on my own. Fuck it. You know what I mean? And then I would go boost all my school clothes, which means I would go there and rip the tags off the clothes and I'd just take them. You know what I mean? All my clothes had holes in them. Right, from, you know, the stuff growing up as a child and shit, you know. And at that point, it's like you're just trying to do what you can to just kind of have a somewhat normal life, right? All these kids out of school, you know.
And then take care of yourself ahead of more than you should have had to at that age.
Yeah,
too.
yeah, right. You know, you got all the kids, they got all the fancy new school clothes and shit. And it's like, my mama can't afford much, you know what I mean? But the thing is, I always had a pair of Air Jordans. That's all I ever wanted, because for Christmas and my birthday, she'd ask me what I want. And I'd say, I want a pair of Air Jordans. So I get 2 pair of Air Jordans a year. And I'd always keep them clean, polish them, put my shoes in the washing machine, or put my laces in the washing machine, toothbrush, toothpaste, you know, like scrub my sneakers.
Taking
because
care of it. Yeah.
I had to. That's what I cared about the most. You know, the clothes, whatever will come later, but it's about my shoes. You know, so I always kept them. I still have their Jordans my mom had bought me, and they're still clean.
That's awesome.
And I've been holding on to them because my kids are old enough to the point to where it's like, one of these days, you know, I'm going to give you my shoes if they're not cracking and messed up, you know, but they're tucked off, you know. So I was fortunate enough to get stuff like that, you know, every so often throughout the year. But you know, my dad, he was just kind of on the run, wilding out. You know, my mom was kind of just doing her thing, and it was hard. It was hard when she was kind of like, you know, always having boyfriends and shit, because when you're at that age, you know, you're like, who's going to be the next guy that comes in? You know, who's going to be the real role? Because I think that's what she was missing. And I was so used to like my dad's role growing up, right? Blue collar, up early in the morning, going to work, so providing for your family, all that shit. And all these dudes that were always coming in, you're like, who is it going to be? Who is it going to be, right? And then you would get attached to one of them, and then he'd be out.
Oh, man.
And then he'd have to restart, right?
So did you eventually just like
eventually
F all you?
All you guys.
Yeah.
Eventually, and I was giving them all a hard time, and I was that stubborn son that was like, "What the fuck you doing with my mom? Like, are you sure you want to be around here?" Like, and it was like where I was like the toughest one. You could ask my mom; she'll say I was probably the toughest one to give any approval or any love to any dude that would come around my house, you know. And then I was just like, this, you know what I mean? When I stopped caring, so I had from the beginning of my life, it was good. Then you go and you start taking these turns.
Yeah.
And it was out of my control at that point. If I was probably 15 or 16 years old and that happened, you know, or if I was, you know, 1 year old when I came up from the hospital and it happened, you know, I probably, the change probably wouldn't have been so drastic. But I think, you know, through all that stuff, I learned so much shit, you know, and I wouldn't take none of that back. You know, I wouldn't, because I think now, you know, I'm married with 3 kids.
And that's cool. You had a good part of childhood, so you know what to replicate there for your kids.
Yeah,
you
man.
know? It wasn't just all bad.
That's what I was just gonna say. You know, it's like I have a wife now with 3 kids. You know, 1, 8 and 10. Right.
Thought you were done, man. No,
I thought I was done too. Right. But you know, I learned. Even though my dad wasn't in my life so much when I needed him, I learned the most from him out of anybody in my life.
In the way of you didn't want to do.
In the way I learned about, like, obviously what I knew I wanted. I knew I wanted to have, you know, boats and trucks and a big house and, you know, vacations and Disneyland. And I wanted to have that shit because that's what I thought was hella fun when I was a kid. You know, and that's why I try to do the best I can to do that for my kids. You know, but I also learned what not to do and what not to get sucked into, what route not to go, you know, and to be very cautious of life, because I know what runs in my genetics and I know where I come from, you know. I know that, like, the drug addiction is so hardcore in my family, you know, and I can see
susceptible.
I could see it. Yeah. I know that, you know.
So have you always stayed away from them for the most part for that
I've
reason?
tried. You know, yeah. I've tried to stay away from them,
for
you know.
sure.
But, you know, it's life.
Yeah.
You know, nobody's perfect. You know, nobody's perfect, man. You know,
Did you ever get addicted to anything?
I got addicted to smoking weed hardcore.
Okay.
And I think I was like 16, 17, like hardcore.
It can do that, man.
And I remember it was like digging in the ashtray trying to find a roach.
Yeah. They say it's non-addictive. That's not
hell
true.
No. That shit will get you addicted, bro. You know?
Yeah, but it's not like a physical addiction. It's like if you get addicted to food or something, or like you're looking forward to that candy at the end of the night.
Yeah.
It's that, but there's definitely addiction.
There's definitely a route there. There's definitely a route there for sure. But I would say, yeah, I was addicted to smoking weed hardcore. Like, it was to a point to where I was like, I can't even go to sleep unless I smoke weed. You know? And then there would be some times where I'm like, damn, you're starting to, it's getting you. I would tell myself, look at you. You're digging in the ashtray.
Yeah.
You know, but now it's like, I'll hit the doobie out of the ashtray. You know, it's no problem. But that's because you haven't experienced life. And there's so many deeper routes of addiction that can really tear you down. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. I do think that's probably what that was, smoking weed that young and you just haven't had enough life experience. You haven't built the discipline. You hadn't built the
normal,
time.
Dude. I think that's normal, right? A lot of weed smokers are going to go dig in the doobie ashtray.
Yeah, for sure. Especially in their teen years.
Yeah, right.
100%.
But you know what? It was really crazy was I moved to Dixon. My, what was I? A junior in high school. My dad was trying to come back into my mom's life, and my mom was just like, "Fuck you." He was coming around the house all the time, so she said we're packing it up, and we lost the house where we lived. Right? She couldn't pay for the house anymore, so we lost everything, completely zero.
How old were you at that point?
At this point, we lost everything. I was 14, had nothing. You know what I mean? Like we had to move out of our house that we were there for like 16 years, move into an apartment, you know, and start fresh. You know, I had to switch schools. A lot of shit was going on. It was just a lot of transitioning, you know, and also like with all of my schooling, it was like I was like so behind on credits and shit because I'd be moving from here in the middle of the year, then I'd go over there, then it was just like too much. It was such a clutter, you know. My brother was already out of school at this point, so he was good, you know, and he was kind of just doing his thing, whatever he had to do to make money too, to bring in for the family, you know. So I'm not saying he was doing the right things, you know, but he was doing whatever he had to do to provide because when mom was working, she had gotten a job in the Bay Area, so she was working, and my brother, it was just me and him in this apartment like forever. And we were hanging out, doing whatever we wanted, calling whoever we wanted over to come hang out, you know, out late, you know, more freedom. And at this time is when life was really fun, you know, because we had the pool, you know, so like, you know, I call up some homies, come over, blah, 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 bring your girlfriends or bring some girlfriends and shit, you know, we'll hang out at my spot, then we'll go to the pool, you know, summertime, school's out, you know, I'm up late. Hanging. Yeah. It was a good time. It was a little bachelor pad. Me and my brother we had, you know, and that was like, you know, I was probably like 15, 16-ish, 15, somewhere around there, you know, but then my mom couldn't pay for it no more, the apartment, and then we ended up moving to Dixon. And I went out there, and I'm gonna tell you what, Dixon. If you know where Dixon's at,
that's some rural shit out there, man.
Dixon's a little different, man.
It's a little different
than where I come from.
It's like a flyover state, but like total middle America. Like
it's just such a cow town, dude.
Yes, cow town.
Dixon is such a cow town, which I love it though.
Yeah,
I love Dixon, man.
Small towns are fun,
dude.
Man.
It was so fun, man. I had when I first moved there, it was the worst life experience I ever had. I hated school. I hated everything. I hated everybody. You know, I was that kid. My first day of school there, you know, you really get your lunch and you're walking around like, oh shit. And I'm like,
not used to this.
I'm going to go eat over here. And I really went to the bleachers, how they do in the movies. You know, the new kid in school will get his lunch and he'll go to the bleachers and eat because he doesn't know where to go. That really happened to me. Like, I was like, oh, don't know where I'm going to go. Fuck it, I'll get my iPod and I'm going to go over here to eat my lunch and just, you know, call one of my homies at school from the old school and see what's up, you know? And then the next day, I had one of my homies, he walked up to me and said, what's up, bro? You want to come sit down with us? And that's where it all started, making good friends in Dixon. Dixon has a lot of good people, man. And
that's awesome.
A lot of good people, a lot of good friends and shit. Life started to change a little bit right there. You know, like you start doing different things. I started experiencing life different.
That's awesome. In what way?
Like doing hella cowboy shit. Like just doing like taking quads out and going to shoot clays, loading up pistols and shooting targets and just really doing Wild West stuff, wearing cowboy boots and Wranglers and, you know, riding horses and just like doing things that I never thought I would do in my life because where I came from, you know, where I come from, it's totally different.
It's
like,
concrete.
It's, you know, it's street, it's city, you know what I mean? Over here, we're talking about barns and acres of property and people with nice trucks and, you know, people that make money off their land, growing almond trees and, you know, selling hay or, you know, raising cows. Like their lifestyle is so different, you know? So I learned a lot over there and my mom lived there and she still lives there now. I love going there and hanging out, you know, they got the cool little bars there and stuff, Buds and Dawson's and shit, you know, it's super fun. And I still got a lot of good friends there. But I think being there, I learned a lot of different things too about like life, you know, because where I came from, sure enough, you know, you were asking about addiction and stuff. Like in Dixon, I would say that I've never seen like so much addiction.
Oh, really?
It was the craziest shit. Such
like
a small
to
town.
Alcohol or to drugs?
No, there was some kids I would go to school with, and they were like addicted to like smoking Oxycontin.
Dude, that hit this area so hard back in like the early 2000s and stuff. It was just ridiculous. And then to find out that it was by design, companies were. It's not that we're not going to go there, but
dude, it was fucking crazy, bro. Like I couldn't believe it. I had a couple homies here in town that were like kind of like, you know, addicted to Xanax and shit. You know what I mean? And they were all that shit hardcore, and it changed them. And you know, and obviously they're great now, they're clean now, everything like that, you know, but that'll do some wild shit to you. I had friends in Dixon that were like smoking. I was smoking weed, and these guys are like fucking busting out tinfoil.
Tinfoil and the straw and the
stuff. I'm like, dude, bro, yeah, bro. I'm like, you're fucking crazy, bro. Hell no. And when I seen that shit, just gave me flashbacks of like my grandpa and just like where I came from and then what I see. And I was all
dude, shit. You didn't miss anything, man. That those stupid things got me. Like late teens, early 20s. Yeah. They took about 3-4 years from me, and
it was sad.
Pretty gnarly.
It was sad, bro, to see that shit. You know, and it was scary because I was like, wow, like this is like right in front of me.
Changes people too.
Yeah, and I remember seeing that, and I was like, yo, like this is something that I knew that I learned from my dad, right? I already seen this route. I was already around drugs and alcohol and the crazy shit. I already seen all this shit, dude. So it wasn't new to me to be like, oh, let me try it. Like I had no hesitation to be like, no, I'm good. Yeah. Like I already know what's going on, bro. And it got to the points where I was like, yo, bro, like you need to know what you're doing. I was trying to influence my homies. Now, I mean, I wouldn't even call them my homies at this point. You know, I was trying to influence them to be like, yo, bro, like, what are you doing? And then they kept doing this shit. Now just ease off. You know what I mean? Go make new friends, you know? And then I was playing sports, playing football and shit. So luckily I wasn't really doing anything, but I would be smoking weed every once in a while. You know, I remember like going out to football practice, smoking a joint, shit, going to bed, whatever, right? Smoking. But seeing everybody that was just doing wild shit, I was like, dude, this is Dixon. It's supposed to be a small town, but I think it's because the town is so small that like there's not much to do. You know, if you can't get creative and go out and ride quads and go shoot clays or like, you know, go ride bikes with your friends and do shit, you know, if you're isolated and you're kind of stuck, you know, one friend's gonna be like, oh, I got some of my mama's stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
I got some of this stuff, right? And that's kind of where it leads. And so seeing that, I was kind of like, oh shit, you know.
So what were after high school, what were your early 20s like and stuff? You started working, right? You got a good ass job. I started working.
I got my girl pregnant.
Yeah,
I got my girl pregnant, man, my senior year in high school.
Okay. Time to get a job.
It's cool to say this because I didn't graduate. I dropped out. You know, moving
to work.
Yes, dropped out to work. So moving so much and like going from school to school. You know, I was already behind on my credits, and it wasn't because like bad in school and shit. I mean, maybe it was a little bit. I didn't do the best, you know. But a lot of it was me switching school. I went to 4 high schools.
Oh yeah.
So me switching schools like right in the middle of like the main semesters, you know, to where it was like those credits are deducted. Those credits are deducted, you know. So it was like setting me back. And you know, in high school, it's like, you know, you can graduate early if you have a certain amount of credits. It's all about a number, you know. You got to have them. So when you're moving when you're moving out, you know, those numbers are going to stay with you. So my senior year, my girl, she texts me. I'm in math class. I remember she's like, hey, I think I'm pregnant. And I was like, what? Are you sure? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, and I just said, okay, whatever you want to do, I'm going to support you. I'm going to support it and I'm going to support you, you know? And we talked and we ended up saying we're going to keep it. And I said, okay, all right, let's do it. And I just said, fuck school. I ain't going to school no more. And I knew what I had to do because of my dad.
Wow.
I seen that he was doing construction and he worked hard and he was blue collar and he had everything that he had.
There's good money in construction.
Dude, he had everything he had without a high school diploma. And I knew that was possible for me. You know, I was like, I know I could do it. I'm physical enough. I'm strong enough. I'll find a job. I don't know where I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do construction. You know, so now I'm coming on 17 years old right here. My girl's pregnant. I need to get a job. I need to get a driver's license first. So I went down to the DMV to get my ID. My mom took me and she's like, well, I'm not paying for your ID and your driver's license. So you might as well take your driver's test. I said, all right.
Yeah.
I took my driver's test. I passed it. No setting, just off the rip.
Huh.
So that was cool, man. And then I ended up getting my driver's license. And then I went and applied. I filled out applications everywhere I could in Dixon. And I got a job at a restaurant, Cattleman's in Dixon, to be a busser. So I was bussing tables at Cattleman's, which was kind of cool because Cattleman's was the spot in Dixon. Mm-hmm. So it was like, oh shit, you're at Cattleman's, you know, it's a steakhouse. And I was there. My schedule was, my schedule was like it was evening job. So it was like from 6 to 11 maybe, you know, but I remember I was like going to school here and there, really, you know, kind of, then I was doing that. And I said, this, I still got all day. Like I got all day from when I wake up to go to work. I'm like, I can find another job. So this is really when I quit going to school. I hit up one of my homies and his uncle owned a body shop where they would sand and prep cars. And I used to paint a lot too. So I was like, oh, maybe I could be a painter. I didn't know, right? I'm just been going against life, whatever is thrown at me. And hit him up. They gave me a job, $8 an hour. I was sanding and prepping cars from 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. So I would do that, right? That shift, I'd come home, change, and I'd go to Cattleman's. And I was working 2 jobs. I was working from 5 a.m. to like 11 o'clock at night every day. You know, both jobs, $8 an hour. And I was like, oh, I'm making $16 an hour. That's how I used to feel about it with an 8-hour shift, but really I'm working the double.
Yeah.
You know? So I was making okay money. My dad had gotten out of prison at this point. He was in prison for a while and he got out. And he was so good with work back in the day. One of my uncles was building some bridges in San Francisco. Mm-hmm. And he gave my dad a job as a big boss. You know, he was a big boss. And it's hella hard to get into the union, you know, if you don't know people or like know the steps, you know. My dad got into the union, or he'd been in the union, but he went back to the union and he was doing some dirt work. And he's like, hey, I'm going to get you a job. And I said, cool, okay. You know, because I was working these crazy hours. Yeah. And I was like, well, I'm working this much. I can do that. I'm working these long hours. I can go do this job. Mm-hmm. So he told his boss, hey, I got a son. He's fucking 18 years old. His girl's pregnant. He's fucking hungry. He needs a job. And he got me an interview. And I went down there and basically just begged him to hire me. Please, man, I need this job. I want to change my life. I want to do construction, all this shit. Because all my teachers told me, oh, you can't do construction anymore. It's not the same, all this shit. I ended up getting that job, man. And I started right there at 18 in the union.
The rest is history. Dude, I love that. You needed more money, so you put more time in.
Yeah.
Know? A lot of people need more money, and they think it should just come to them.
Yeah. I was 18, right? I was working those 2 jobs at $8 an hour. Then I got in making $27.
That's a lot.
So it was a big change, man, for being 18. And I was like, I got enough to support my family now. I just got to go to work every day, you know? And I was locked in.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
When did rap come in?
Ooh, rap has always been there through all that. That's what was cool. I would say rap really started at like, maybe 13, 14 years old. My neighbor, he was hella cool. He was a hip hop dude, and he was a lot older than me. He was in college, but he would freestyle. Or he would beatbox. He would beatbox all the time, like old school, like New York streets type of shit, right? And it was hella cool. Then he had a couple of homies that would come over and they would hang out in front of my house and shit. And they would get in a circle and they would beatbox and rap, right? And I didn't know what a freestyle was. I didn't know nothing. And I remember we were in that little circle and one guy started rapping and I was like, oh, that was hella sick. I remember, that was hella sick. What song is that? He's like, oh, it's a freestyle. And I was all, what the f*** is a freestyle? He's all, it was off the top of my head. I didn't write it. It was just all, you know, it was all natural. And I was like, you're lying. He's like, give me something to rap about. And I said, a rap about going to McDonald's and ordering some food. When he did. Like,
crushed it.
He killed it. Like, oh, I'm in line. Let me get a Big Mac with a large fry. Like all this stuff. It was so sick. And I was blown away. I said, teach me. Teach me. Show me the ways, you know? And he just said, just to write lyrics down all the time. Write things down that rhyme. So at that age is really when I started to like write music, kind of, you know what I mean? Writing down rhymes. It wasn't even really writing music. Then, you know, you go on, and then you start meeting people that have studios and you start getting in the studios and recording shit. Then you freestyle and shit. You know, eventually time goes on. At this point now, I'm probably like Man, I'm probably 19. 19, I threw a little party at my house and had some homies come over. And one of my old friends that's like a real big producer, his name's Spencer, Well Spent. And he's just phenomenal hip hop artist, rapper, you know, from where I grew up. And he was like, what's up, bro? I heard you rap a little bit. If you ever want to get together, I'll record you or something. And he's a producer, makes beats and shit. And I was like, hell yeah, let's do it. So we did it. We were linking up and we were just recording a bunch of bullshit all the time. And it got to a point to where I was like taking music very serious. Like I was like, I loved it so much because I just wanted to write music all the time in the means of like doing everything we've been doing in life, right?
Yeah.
Working, doing the family thing, like everything. And I feel like I had a lot of shit to talk about and a lot of life experiences just to kind of like blend everything together. It was like my therapy.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I did that. And then, man, I just, along that journey, I never stopped doing it. Right. And obviously progression came and I would meet more people, make more relationships, you know, more opportunities came, more doors were open. And
isn't that crazy, dude? If you chase your passion and you put your all into it and you do it with integrity and you know, like stuff just natural. So much can come from that. You meet
naturally,
people,
bro. Yeah. I think as long as you just give it your all at what you love, doors are going to open, you know, and it's on your will though, your effort, right? They say like, God's always on time. You know, like as long as you put in your work and you do your side of the work, like, you know, God's gonna do his part. And that's what I believe. I believe that if you do your job and you try your best and you go for it, you know, and you're not scared to take a loss, you're not scared to lose by it, you know, what do you have to lose?
Or look silly too. That's the part that stops a lot of people is the whole what are people gonna think type of
that, dude.
Yeah.
And I got to that point too.
Did you ever struggle with that as a rapper?
Hell yeah.
Of course.
Hell yeah. You're like, oh, like, well, I'm going to present myself to everybody, you know?
It's hard.
And they're going to have to be like, the fuck's he doing?
Yes.
To stick to construction.
Yes.
You know, that's what I heard a lot. I heard a lot growing up.
How did you push through that? Did you just create like a self-belief or like what?
Yeah, I did. I created like a mental muscle, right? Into it was where like, I have nothing to lose. I have my wife. I have a great job. I have my kids. I have a good home. I have everything I could dream of.
Yeah,
right
I don't need this.
I don't fucking care what anybody's gonna say.
That's awesome.
Like I don't care what anybody is gonna. Everyone's gonna judge. Everyone judges about everything, right? And if I'm gonna be a victim and you're gonna judge me, like, go ahead, man. If that's gonna make you feel better, because if anything, you should be like, that's tight. Keep going.
No shit.
That's cool, bro. Yes. Like I'm supporting you, right? Because you know me, you know where I came from, you know the story, whatever it is, you know, like, and I'm representing you guys. I'm representing Sacramento, California, you know? So like everything I'm doing, like I want to do it and I want to make it out of here to be like, I did it. And I did that for my city, you know, and I want to carry that all the way to the top, you know? And if anybody like judges and says bad shit about it, it's just like, I don't care, man. You're just a rotten apple. Like you obviously don't know. How about you try to write a song?
It's a lot of times it's jealousy.
Yeah.
And just the simple fact of like saying, I'm going to chase a dream. Like everybody, I think most people want to do that, but very few actually do it because you got to put your reputation out there.
It takes a lot of courage, I think, you know, and I think it takes a leap of faith.
It does.
And yeah, it takes the time to be like, damn, what are they going to say? Or shit.
There's a lot of people that have a gift to offer the world that are too scared to do it because of what people think. What advice do you, because you pushed through that, you built a mental muscle. What advice do you have for them?
I think that, you know, use what you have around you for like your tools, man. You know, if like me, I use my family, I use whatever I had. Like, oh, I'm like, man, I got everything that I could ask for. That's going to be my push, you know? So if I didn't have that, I think that I would just go with the fact that I'm like, I don't really care what anybody thinks. Like, who are you to judge me? Right? It's just.
So you got to find self-belief.
You got to find self-belief, man. Yeah. And you got to find your way to just basically just say, fuck 'em.
Yeah. All right.
Fuck 'em. Like, what are you benefiting me? Your negativeness? Like, let's not be negative here, right?
Yeah.
Let's just keep, like, give me some encouragement.
And do you think, so probably remove people and things from your life that are giving you that negative energy as well.
I was looking at something and it was like, it was a Joe Coy. Was it Joe Coy? It was Joe Coy thing I was watching.
So funny.
Dude, he's hilarious, man.
Where he did the different,
And he was like, he was all, oh, you got 16,000 followers. No, you don't. He was like, you only got like 20 of them, and the other ones are all just people that are gonna watch you. They're just gonna watch your shit, and those 20 that are gonna watch is probably gonna be your family, and then 10 of those family members probably hate you. And it was like that's probably how it is, because you know how many followers I have on Instagram, and for the amount of people that like just look at my shit, and they just look, you know what I mean, and then they're like, they just look.
As opposed to what, like messaging, liking,
like messaging or posting or reliking, or like encouraging, like, man, let's help them, right? Let's all help each other. We're a community here.
Yes.
Right? If we all came together and like pushed each other, like not push, but like repost, share, respond, this and that,
or at least like it, and then let the whole damn thing play out. All right, let's get a higher average watch time so it gets shared out by the algorithm.
Yeah, that's awesome. There's thing because you could see like the little paper airplane that's on the corner when you can send shit. You can see like how many times it was sent without it being reposted. So like if there's like 30 people that sent it, but only 4 people reposted it, it's like, oh, those 30 people are sending it to talk shit. They're probably like, oh, look at this, or what are they thinking? You know what I mean? It's not.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people can handle that mentally.
So you got to think about
have that self-belief.
You got to think about those things, and that's why I'm like, bro, I just don't care. Like I have everything in my life that I can ask for. You know what I mean? I have everything that I wanted when I was a kid, right? That my dad had when I was a kid, that I believe that I can get. I have all that stuff right now in my life. And right now in my life is the best time in my life. Like, so I'm the richest man in the world right now. You know what I mean? Wow. I can't let anybody bother me, and I'm not rich with money. I'm rich because I got a wonderful family. I got like
you got the stuff money can't buy, man.
Exactly, man.
Peace of mind, fulfillment, love, companionship, friendship, a passion, a social life. That's what people like. Those are the things that actually make you happy and fulfilled. People think it's money. It's not. I wish everybody could get a ton of money and realize I don't feel any different. What the hell? I was lied to. It's not the money.
It's not. It's not. Obviously, well, I will say this: money will buy you decisions.
It does solve problems,
and decisions
can stress.
Decisions can bring you happiness. Right. So that when it's like, oh, money can't buy you happiness, it can give you decisions, and those decisions can make you happy or pissed off or sad, whatever, but I think at the end of the day, like life experience and, like what you have, and if you can learn to love what you have, that's enough.
Gratitude.
That's everything. Because if I didn't have what I had, bro, and doing what I'm doing, who knows how I'd be.
And dude, if you don't love what you have now, someone could give you $10 million. You're not going to feel any different.
Yeah, you're going to want to go buy the Lamborghini or that big truck or whatever the hell it is that you want to show off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, right? Because you're like, oh, because everyone's going to judge you at high quality now. Oh, you see, he got the Lambo, or oh, you see, he's got whatever. Like those kind of things. But it's like some of the. I know somebody, man, that's got just the most coolest shit, and he walks around with holes in his shirt, and he does every single thing for his family. Okay, this is my brother-in-law, his father-in-law, the greatest man I have ever met on earth, and I talk about him all the time. There's never been a man that I'm like, I want to be like him when I grow up. I want to be like Peter when I grow up. That's his name, Peter.
That's awesome.
So awesome.
Shout out to Peter.
Shout out to Peter, man. And he's just got, he literally built a foundation in a home and everything for his family, everything. And that's all it was for. Everything that he had, you wouldn't even know the guy has a penny. But if you go to his house and you see what he has, dude, he fucking has everything you could dream of. And it's because he did it all for them. It comes with not showing and being flashy with all your shit, right? But just do it for a reason,
So do you have like a spiritual life? You religious or anything like that? Like
I got my own relationship with God.
Yeah. Tell me about that. Are you comfortable talking about it?
Yeah, hell yeah. I don't go to church every Sunday, and I don't just reach out to God when I need him, but I do believe, I for sure believe in God, and I believe that if you do your part, and he's gonna do his.
What do you think your part is?
Being who I am right now, right? Being a provider, being a good father to my kids, trying to teach them, and also chasing my dream of my music, right? Still allowing me to do all that, because I'm gonna tell you this much: it's not easy being a provider, right? It's you. I've changed the pressure. I've changed so much, right? I've gotten aggressive. I've gotten impatient. I've got a lot of my own stuff because of like the pressure that you go through, right? Getting up to go to work every day, working hard, dealing with people at fucking work, and then come home, right? Paying all your bills, trying to get it, Dad, can we get a PS5? Like, hold on, what's for dinner?
Yeah.
Yes. like, so there's so much shit that goes on all the time, right? And I think that's my purpose right there, right? And I think God helps me through that shit sometimes, because there's times I want to make bad decisions and I want to do things. And I'm going to tell you guys something right now. I'm going to tell you this. My buddy is like very, very religious, and he came from a hardcore life. And he's like, bro, like, I asked him, like, how do you know God's talking to you?
That's my favorite thing to ask everyone I meet.
So I have a good answer for it, because I asked him, and I think about this every time now. Okay. I say, how do you know God's trying to talk to you? He says, you'll know in your heart that something's not right. You'll know right there. And that's God. And if you're doing all these bad things and you can't feel that, that's because you don't have your belief.
Or you're so used to it that you stuffed it down.
You'll know when you got that feeling and you're like, oh shit, that's not right. Or don't do that. You basically your conscience, having a good conscience.
And intuition.
That's what I believe is God. And I feel like I had that all the time. So I do believe in God a lot.
So you use it to know what not to do.
Yeah.
Like, that's wrong. That's wrong. God, life would be so much smoother if you don't do things you shouldn't do. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't
That's
go to
awesome.
I don't go to church every Sunday. I'm not saying I'm praying to God every single night.
Yeah.
But I mean, I do. There's times where I'm always like, thank you, God. Thank you. I was on my boat last week. Okay. And my kids were playing, jumping off the boat, and I was swimming out by myself, and I was just drinking a beer in the middle of the water. And I remember saying,
that's a thank you, God.
I remember saying, thank you, God. And I remember saying, thank you so much. I said, please, give me the strength that I'm always going to need, and whatever it's going to take for me, for my kids to be this happy always. Please, so I believe in God very much, but I think everybody that believes in him, you don't got to be a diehard Christian. You don't have to study the Bible every single day. There's a lot of different rules to religion, but I think if you have your own relationship with God and you know what's right and what's wrong, and you stay optimistic and positive, and you don't be a grimy and a dirty ass person.
Yeah. How are you treating other people? It's kind of how are you treating your kids? How are you treating your dog, your family, no one's around? Yeah. How do you treat, a service worker somewhere that messes up your food? And, I think that's the ultimate test. You could be in church and Bible studies and the whole thing all the time, and you're just walking around the dick and not listening to that God conscious, and what's the point of it?
But I do think that I could do better, right? I believe that I should be going to church every Sunday, influencing my kids more, on God and on church things and stuff like that, because I don't want my kids to have a life like I did, and when I was growing up, of course I believed in God and shit, but man, I didn't know what that feeling was.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying?
So you just ignored it.
I just learned that like not that long ago. That whole conscience thing where it's like
a tightness in your chest, right?
It's just like you'll just kind of know. I don't know how to explain it, man. Yeah, it's like a tightness, and it's like a
pit in the stomach, kind of like a tightness.
Yeah, when you have that, that's the touch. You know what I mean? That's the God. That's God right there, and that's what I believe. Because God's not going to come down and sit down in a chair next to you and talk to you.
Right.
Or he's not going to write you a letter, or he's not going to send you a text or a phone call. There's a different way of communication. And I believe that's it, at least for me.
I think a lot of people, I think he made us like that, to have intuition and to talk to him in nonverbal ways, and to feel his presence, and to, use that as a guide in life. Yeah,
no, that's my guide right there, man.
That's awesome, dude.
That's definitely my guide. So, I mean, I'm thankful for that. My buddy, Ricky, that I work with, he was a hardcore. He had a lot of wild life, and he got really close to God, and he's the one that told me that. So big shout out to my buddy, Ricky.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, man.
Well, man, this was fun. Anything you want to tell the audience, or young artists, or just leave with people?
If you have a dream, go for it. Don't be scared to go for it. Give it all you got. Be a good person. You know, don't be dirty. Don't be doing things behind people's back that you shouldn't do or you wouldn't want someone to do to you. You know, you're going to get back what you put in.
Isn't that true?
You're going to get back what you put in. You do some dirty shit, you do some things that you don't want done to you, you're going to give it a little bit of time and it's going to happen to you.
It is. And it might not even be the same category. You could steal money and your relationships are messed up. But there is some sort of cosmic scorecard where everything we're doing is being tracked by something.
God is on time. And that's another thing. God is on time. So you might think you're getting away with it right now.
That's right.
Give it a little bit of time. When you're at your prime, he's gonna get you. You know, so do the right thing. Do the right thing.
I love that, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. It helps the channel grow and more importantly, helps the guests feel really good. Please send a supportive comment. All right, thanks guys.